Good morning world, and welcome back to another episode of Tanda Tula Safari. It has been a scorching weekend here in the Lowveld. The last 3 days have touched 40, if not exceeded it. Today is scheduled to be another hot one. At the moment it is beautiful and cool and fresh, so we're going to go get a couple of hours of driving in before the heat comes and takes the day away. Was on drive for the weekend. Disappointingly not the big seven. The wild dogs didn't play along, but we got to see Thumbela, still lactating, in need of a meal, didn't get one. The lions were scattered around the eastern side. We had various sightings of the members of the River Pride and Naru males. The two cheetah brothers were around after having had an impala kill very close to Tanda Tula Safari Camp, and some duggar boys, elephants. It was a nice weekend despite the heat. This week I'm hoping that those cheetahs hang around, so we're going to be strangely bumbling in the east and seeing what today brings. So come along for the ride and let's go explore a bit of the timber belt. Good morning. These guys must have struggled the past few days keeping cool. Mentioned it before, when you're such a large animal and have so much volume and not a lot of surface area, shedding heat is a difficult thing. That's why those big ears probably having a rest now, but they will come out, and all the wrinkles on the skin have come into play just to try help cool down that large body mass. So get the feeding done early now. Well, I say that they're going to be eating all day anyway, but make best use of these cool times, because later on in the day this guy's going to be hitting the mud wallows, hitting the shade. It's just going to be too hot to really be out there doing anything but that. Yesterday afternoon we had a whole bunch of ellies just resting in the shade opposite the camp, and then as it cooled down in the afternoon they came and splashed around in the dam before carrying on. Probably a lot of feeding would have been done last night. Starting off with all the big guys this morning. First thing, beautiful male giraffe here silhouetted against the morning sky, and I can tell you now it's 5:30 and I can already feel the burn of that sun. Don't often see them perched, and I guess that is why, but that was a batelier, an adult batelier eagle. The partner flew off as I got my camera out. Now you're just looking at a tree stump. Ostrich over here, just to the left of this big tree, but you won't see two ostriches actually. They're not so easy to film. That's the female at the back, the brown one. So yeah, a pair of ostrich here out on a place we call Little Serengeti. Got the beautiful male walking in front with his black feathers, and the female behind with her duller brown feathers. Nice to see this pair hanging around. They have been around a while. I don't know if it's the same male that we've showcased a couple of episodes ago, but yeah, a pride of ostriches you would call this. A good start for our top list today. We've had the heaviest land mammal in the world, the tallest land mammal in the world, and now the heaviest bird in the world. Let's see if we can find the fastest land mammal. Unfortunately those ostriches went into the thicket behind and they haven't really come out. You can see them, but no good for filming, so we're going to carry on checking around. It's flower time! It's what you all wait for. It's why you wake up every Sunday so eager to watch these episodes, is to learn about flowers. Or maybe not. However, I have a new flower for us, one that started blooming over the last couple of days. Rose, my lady? No, this one we call a white trumpet. Because it makes it sound like a trumpet. No, it's just, I don't know, I guess it looks like a little trumpet. Cascanum hadericium is this one, the white trumpet. They grow in these little clusters, seem to be relatively gregarious too. I don't even know if you can see it amongst the grass. This might be a waste of time. But yeah, they're started popping out. There's another orange one that I need to find for you that I also noticed. It started growing in the last couple of days. But yeah, it's about half an hour since I last spoke to you, and about 17 million degrees hotter. And we're not yet 6:30, so gonna be a warm one. Have another beautiful flower here, but this is where you need to be in person to enjoy this one. It's got the most beautiful aromatic smell, fragrance. It is called a wild lavender, and you crunch those leaves and it's like a perfume. Makes me sound very un-Game Ranger like if I'm talking about how beautiful it is. But yeah, call this a wild lavender. I'm afraid I don't know the scientific name, but it's the leaves that contain the fragrance. So at least I smell pretty now. Last flower, I promise, but a beautiful one, and the first one I've actually seen this summer. This is our flay or crinum lily. Beautiful trumpet-shaped pink striped flowers. They emerge early in the summer, growing in from big bulbs underground. These bulbs can be up to 20 centimeters in diameter, and a beautiful splash of color, the crinum lily. It's been another scorcher of a morning, and unfortunately heat like this does not bode well for animal activity, and we've seen that today. A few rhino in a mud wallow, impalas in the shade, and not a great deal else. So this little boy is going to be heading back to the shade before he turns into the pink prawn yet again. And I've got a guest coming from 4 nights from tomorrow, our first international guest post-lockdown. So we look forward to welcoming Gabby back, a long-time guest of mine. So I'll probably actually do quite a bit of recording with her on the vehicle over the next few days, and complete this episode with what we see then. So enjoy the next, I guess, however many minutes of highlights from the week that was. After all of my moaning about how hot it had been that morning of filming the safari, that evening a beautiful cooling wind blew in, and awoke the next day to cloudy, windy, and much cooler conditions. Gabby, our first international guest from Switzerland, arrived, and we headed out in the afternoon with the fantastic news that the guides in the morning had found Tumbela, and she had a kill, an impala kill, and from her behavior and the tracks it suggested that the cub was there. So I headed out with Gabby first thing in the afternoon to go and check on Tumbela. We found her resting by the kill impala up in a tree. Well, actually the impala in the ground, the lamb that had been removed from the womb, up in the tree, but sadly no sign of the cub. We waited a while, but eventually decided to move on. Spent time with a beautiful family of elephants, and they were all looking much happier and much cooler than our elephant was yesterday morning. Carried on with the afternoon, and there was a report of a pack of wild dogs having come in to the northwest of our camp. So we headed over there, managed to catch up with them, but they were on the hunt and all split up, running circles around us. So we did get to see some of the members of the pack, and that brought an end to the first afternoon. But we decided to go and end the drive with a pop into the giraffe carcass that Civilized had also found that morning. You would have seen it on the previous surf safari. We headed there at night, got a bit of hyena action as they were feeding on quite a large male giraffe that had died around a natural pan. Here as it's biting using those carnassials to try and cut through that tough hide. And no wonder they're always panting and tired after feeding, because it's not like eating a steak with a knife and fork. There's using your jaw muscles to cut through that, and then also when you see them pulling and how much energy and effort they put in, using those powerful neck muscles. And next morning, we decided that we were going to go try for Tumbela again. So we headed straight to the kill, found that the kill was still there, Mom was still in the bush, and the cub had been there when we arrived, moved into the thickets. We realized it was going to take some patience and quiet, but we were prepared to do it. So we sat and we waited. Tumbela actually went up into the tree, grabbed the impala carcass, the baby, and pulled it down to the ground, took it into the same thicket where the cub was, to try and encourage it to feed. A bit strange, because at 6 weeks old, that's kind of on the borderline, maybe even a little bit young to be feeding on meat. But cub didn't come and eat, but it did eventually come and join Mom. So after a long wait, we got well rewarded with this beautiful, beautiful scene. Came out, Mom groomed it, paid attention to us, but not nearly that nervous, or not as nervous as it had been yesterday. And after some time, it eventually settled to suckle and feed. So about an hour and a half wait, and we got rewarded with this wonderful, wonderful view. We eventually left the leopards to it and decided to go check on our giraffe carcass again. And it was a good decision, because it was a scene full of activity. There were not one but two hyena clans that had now arrived, each numbering maybe 15 to 20 individuals. The clan from the south seem to have taken command of the carcass. There were vultures everywhere, the chasing of one clan of hyenas of the other, the sounds, everything that accompanied this scene was just fantastic. And we spent quite a bit of time just watching this unfold. And as you can hear from the sounds, quite an experience. This one's still got his bone, or her bone. With all of the scavenging activity, it wasn't actually a surprise to see just how much that carcass had been reduced from what it was last night to what it was this morning. Oh, hyenas everywhere. Possibly two clans coming together. The second clan was kind of hanging at the back of the scene, trying to build up the confidence to go in and challenge the clan that was on the carcass, but it never quite happened.
Do you know where to look?
Yeah, there's so much going on. It's two clans. To help complete the scene, there was also a herd of giraffes in the area that were drawn to look at their fallen comrade being consumed by the scavengers. Look, it's not why they were there, they were just drawn by the attention, but it did make for another element, interesting element of the scene to have the giraffes watching. It really was a great location for this poor giraffe to die. Right by a mud wallow, so when their bodies heated up from all the exertion of fighting and feeding, they could just go flop in the mud to cool down. It did make for a very muddy carcass though. We spent a great morning watching this before deciding to head back after two really quality sightings. Delighted with our patience and our efforts for the morning. jackals coming in. Look there. That afternoon we were in search of cheetah, so we went to the southeast, swung past Tumbela. She was sleeping in another thicket some distance away from the carcass, and we came across a nice herd of elephants, spent some time with them, but sadly no cheetahs on display today. Highlight of the drive was probably our sundowner. We went up to Eagle Owl Plains, stopped there, and we had 15 giraffes wandering past, a nice big group of zebra, and it was just a fitting way to end a really, really wonderful day. All the giraffe coming back to see the first international tourist of the year. Yeah. Pretty close to 20 giraffe here. Of course the drive would not have been complete if we didn't pop in to see what was going on at the giraffe carcass, and it was nice to see that this time the black-backed jackals were getting their chance to feed, so we spent some time there before heading back to camp for a well-earned dinner.
This is fast, huh?
Also probably without the competition of the vultures, they don't have to be as active. The next morning, we were still on the lookout for lion and cheetah. We found some nice rhino, and then we were heading past the area where Tumbela's kill had been and found her on the prowl in that area. Spent some time following her before we lost her in a thicket going after a steenbok. Obviously finished her kill now, and off to do some territorial patrolling. The afternoon called for a change of scenery. We headed out west, got to see some buffalo, nice buffalo herd, as well as a lot of general game grazing out in the western areas. So maybe less action-packed, but still a very enjoyable afternoon for us all. Everybody out enjoying a good afternoon. Zebra, impala, giraffe, warthog. One particularly nice sighting that we did enjoy that afternoon was of a pair of Wahlberg's eagles. One of the partners was perched very, very low down on a tree, almost at eye level, calling away. There's a fork-tailed drongo mobbing it, and I can't quite figure out why it was so low down on the tree. If it was in search of food, maybe it had chased a mongoose or a spurfowl into the bush. But yeah, it was very obliging, allowed us to watch it for some time before it flew off. Not quite sure what's drawn it so low down in the tree. Desperately calling for the partner who arrived, but oh, there we go, Drongo's back. The next morning we resumed our search for lions, and a colleague called to say would we like to come and see the limping Naru male, and I said no, why would we want that? Obviously we headed over there and arrived to a male lion resting close to a young buffalo calf taken from the herd that we had seen yesterday afternoon. But at first look I realized that this lion was not the limping Naru male. For a start, he barely opened his eyes when we drove in, but he was also a bit more large, darker maned, and didn't know who it was. Was lying in the long grass, didn't provide much action, but went home, checked the photos I had got, and found out that it was our long lost Sumatra male and the Hercules male from the Hercules pride, and we hadn't seen these lions for well over a year. They had taken dominance over a pride in the Kruger near the Auckland area called the Squirrel Pride, but it appears as though in the last month the Mbiri males have stepped up, chased them away, displaced them as controllers of that territory, taken over the Squirrel Pride, and this has left the Hercules and the Sumatra male as nomads. They wandered into the area, caught this buffalo, and were feasting on it. It's not just pulling the weight of the buffalo, that's pulling the weight of your partner and the buffalo. That's why he's giving up. The flies taking off as he does that. After spending time with those lions feeding, we headed back to camp, and in the morning when we woke up we could hear the limping Naru male calling. And I thought, ooh, I wonder if they have come back, because we hadn't seen any sign of these Naru males. And sure enough, when we followed up on the carcass, there was no Hercules, no Sumatra male, but all three Naru males were lying around the carcass. Some fat-bellied, there wasn't a great deal left, but they had probably been drawn in by the nearby giraffe carcass and maybe picked up the scent or the sound of these other lions fighting over the kill and ran in and displaced them. We spent quite a bit of time that morning watching them. One male was wandering around roaring, just trying to proclaim their dominance over the area to let those two intruding males know that they are not welcome. Sniffing the air. I don't know if that's so much for the other male lions or maybe the dead giraffe. Leaving the lions to their meal, we carried on. Beautiful herd of elephants drinking at Little Kariba, very idyllic setting. And then we got caught up in a giraffe roadblock as 3 young bulls were play fighting and sparring in the middle of the road in the shade of a tree, because it was already heating up. The heat that had accompanied us at the beginning of the episode had returned with a vengeance. And that was, good morning, and that was about it for my stay with Gabby. I had some guests that continued their stay. We ended off the evening with the Nharhu males walking past the camp. They didn't decide to check in, even though we had availability. But it brought to close a wonderful week, and also another episode of Safari. So I hope you've enjoyed this bit of a recap, and stay safe wherever you are. We will see you all very, very soon. From myself, Chad, and the Tanda Tula team, take care.